Hi, Dr. Parag.
Hey, Karthik.
It's a great pleasure to host you on our YouTube channel.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here.
I know it's been about a year since you contacted us, and after a year, you're now in UCSF, and
Yeah,
it's amazing as a private practitioner, as somebody who applied through the entire process, sitting in India without coming to the US physically, and
yeah,
someone who is again wed to a dentist. I think it's a fantastic journey that people would want to hear. Before I go on speaking more about you, I would love if you could introduce yourself briefly, and then we can deep dive into your journey.
yeah, definitely. So, my name is Parag Srivastava, and I'm working as an endodontist in India, in Jaipur, and I'm running a practice here. It's a practice that is limited mostly to restorative dentistry and endodontics. I'm also working as a consultant. I'm consulting at around 20 clinics in Jaipur, and I'm also married to an endodontist. So yeah, we both of us we share quite a lot of passion about dentistry per se. Yeah, and in 2017, I had a scholarship by Labomed Microscope Company. So that was the first time the resource person was basically he was educated in United States. So that was the first time I came in contact with how dentistry is being practiced in United States and how it is different from what it is going on in India and how what kind of practice is going on in United States. So that made me realize that there is much to learn, much to unlearn, much to relearn again. So yeah.
Awesome. So, how many years was it after you graduated from your either your MDS, I guess? How many years has it been, and how many years were you into private practice before you came in touch with this person?
Okay. So the scholarship I got in 2017 when I was in my final year of post graduation, and I graduated in 2018. I completed my post graduation in 2018, and the very next day I opened my practice. So I remember the day my exam was going on, the chair was being installed the very next day. So I quickly jumped on into the private practice, and yeah. So, however, I always thought, that I did not think that I'll be coming to US that time. I'll be pursuing DDS that time. But yeah, I definitely knew that there is something that I need to learn more about how to improve the overall quality of practice and the overall quality of my skills. That I realized, I think, in 2017, the final year of my post graduation.
Mhm. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked you probably a year back when we first spoke, which
Yeah,
is you had a private practice in India. You
right.
are married to an endodontist, and both of you are probably consulting, like you said, at 20 plus clinics. If this is the case, the one statement that everybody would have asked you is, "You've got it all figured out." So why do you still want to move to the US?
So, I mean, I wouldn't say that I've got it all figured out. Uh, it's a mix of everything. I believe that this is the maximum that I can do in India right now. I mean, the things that I'm doing here, the things that I'm doing here, it is the maximum things that I can do. I really believe that after doing post graduation in India, you kind of reach at a termination point. I mean, PhD, I don't think holds much value if you're too much into clinics and you like clinical dentistry.
Mhm.
So yeah, the next thing I could see was honing on my skills and uh, I mean not just being an endodontist, but yeah, I mean certain things like inlays, onlays, the kind of restorative dentistry that is being taught in the United States. I think India still lags behind in that, and slowly it's picking up, I believe. But yeah, there's much scope for improvement, right? So that is something that I want to learn.
Wonderful. Outside of the learning aspect, has there been any incentive in terms of family, financials, or better lifestyle that you considered when you made the transition?
Yeah, I would say that, life is all about exploring newer avenues and, not just settling at a single place. So yeah, that is one of the greatest incentives, to get to explore a new place, get to make new friends, get to explore a new community. So yeah.
All right, awesome. In terms of a very specific question about children and the people who plan for children, what is your kind of 2 cents? A lot of people
Uh,
are making the decision about children and moving to the US after experience, and very few people actually come fresh out of college. So,
yeah. Yeah, so right. I mean, having a child definitely, makes you think a lot about moving to a new country, making such decisions. In that terms, me and my wife, we were kind of blessed that we think that we can still move around quite a bit, and before expanding our family. So yeah, I mean, I would say that having children would definitely kind of put some kind of restriction. I mean, not restriction per se, but yeah, some kind of extra thought you need to put into making such decisions.
okay,
Yeah.
very diplomatic answer there.
Yeah.
uh, if while you were looking at options to move out of India, explore, as you said, and learn, were there other countries apart from US that you were considering?
Uh, I was considering New Zealand at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Canada. I believe Canada and New Zealand, you can get license using the same exam.
Mm-hmm.
So I was considering that at a time, but then I had some of my family already residing in the United States. So that was another factor that led me to make this decision.
Okay, that's awesome. And did you have a select set of schools you went after?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to join a school, that works at a high research capacity and, not just doing research, but putting that research into real life clinical situations.
Mhm.
Because advanced standing course is all about improving your clinical skills. So Pittsburgh definitely was one of my top choices. Then UCSF,
Mhm.
then I did apply at Pennsylvania too, but they require a year's experience in United States. So that was that was something I did not have.
Great. Before we go about how you build your profile to apply, one question which comes up a lot is Advanced Learning Program is a clinical dentistry program. And in
Right.
fact, they say foreign trained dentists are discouraged to do research because of the kind of pressure they have in the clinic.
Right.
That being said, why is it important to keep a research orientation, keep research experience, or even apply to a school which has a research mindset? What, can you explain a little more about that?
Yeah, definitely. During my post graduation, I did quite a lot of research. I did a short study, and I also did a thesis. I believe that while putting the materials that you're using in the oral cavity or the materials which you're using to treat the patients, so knowing a little bit more about them, knowing how they would react to the different kind of situations, how the number of cycles is, for example, how the number of cycles is going to affect the behavior of a file system. So these are some things that that you will get to learn only by studying more and more about the research that is being done into that particular material. So having a evidence-backed clinical practice is something that you can learn only while studying about the research. So yeah.
Great. Okay, this is a great point. A lot of people confuse what evidence-based dentistry is, and they assume that it has to do with performing research or like being, collecting data for research.
Yeah, I mean, performing research or either, knowing about that research is also something. Uh, if you're not performing, that's fine enough because most of the research that is being published is peer reviewed. So knowing about that research, knowing about the different materials, knowing how they would react in different situations, knowing the pros and cons. So that's all about it, I believe.
Wonderful. Great. Great point. And that will be like have a lot of value, resonance in other candidates who are applying, especially those who are confused between how do I leverage my research experience and make a case for a clinical program. This would be super valuable.
Exactly.
Now let's hone in into the application process. What did you do to make your application strong or profile strong as you applied to US dental schools?
Okay, when I started, I was really clouded with all of this procedure, and this whole procedure itself is quite a long and a tedious process. So you need certain kind of guidance, and I was lucky to have that guidance. I had met up with a certain person, which was referred to me by one of my seniors. She was studying in Michigan that time. So she referred me to a person, and he was the one who guided me through the process. And I just, kept building on the profile, and reading about what the things are on the internet, and then finally, initially my focus was basically to clear my NBDs, and once I was done with that, I quickly jumped into CAPID. I read a lot about CAPID on the internet, and finally dug into it.
Awesome. Do you recall any sources of where you read up about CAPID on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, there were quite a lot of sources. I mean, I did speak with you at at a time too, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, and you guys have a blog too, right? So similarly, there were this student dental network, this site that also gave a lot of insight into how international dentists are applying. I would like to mention a person, Dr. Satpreet. He also helped me quite a lot. He guided me from start to finish, actually. So that also helped me a lot.
Okay. Is Dr. Satpreet based out of New Delhi?
No, I think he lives in Texas.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great. I've not heard of them then. I know there's somebody out of New Delhi. Great. So among the several sources you mentioned, one is SDN. SDN is a completely student-run organization, and they have a forum called the Student Doctor Network Forum. So people watching this video can go check out that forum, get ample information. Another good resource.
Exactly, and I mean, not just for CAPID, Student Dental Network really provides good info once you are invited into the school for interview. Like what kind of questions you can expect, how the overall environment is going to be. So that is an excellent resource.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing that people might end up doing is they might search for DDS related questions and so on. But it's important to search for International Dental Program.
Exactly.
Within Student Doctor Forum. There are separate groups or separate forum pages for both.
Exactly. International Dental Program or Advanced Standing Programs. The kind of questions overall, I believe, differ in some ways.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're interviewing people with experience 5 years, 6 years versus 0.
Exactly.
Great. Awesome. In your profile, like because you were running a full-time practice in India, what did you focus on? Like, was there a certain area that you tried to nail a lot in terms of the entire profile? Do you recall anything like that?
See, when I started with my application, I knew that I had 5 or 6 publications. I knew I had a little bit of experience. So my focus was more towards building up a good statement. And I believe that statement really impacts how school sees you, because that is the first impression that the school is getting of you. So I put a lot of thought into it, got it cross-checked by many of my friends, my parents, my wife. Everybody had a lot of input into it, and also in letter of recommendations. So I asked many of my teachers. I humbly requested them to, kind of rewrite it again. So to kind of make it look good. Yeah. So I mean, I really believe that SOP and this letter of recommendation, it plays a big role in how the school sees you, because that is how the school is seeing you.
Mhm. Yeah,
That
that's the gateway to assess you versus the
yeah,
competition.
exactly. They get to know you. Basically, they have this idea of you based on how you are writing your SOP.
Mhm.
So,
Let's spend a few more minutes there. So, in terms of your letter recommendations, who did you ask your letter recommendations from? Like in terms of you had to get three, who did you ask them from? And
right.
what was your approach? You said you went back to them and asked them for like review, right? So what was your approach to engage them in writing it?
Okay. So I got my letter of recommendations. My first letter was from my dean,
Mhm.
from my BDS college. Then my second recommendation letter was from my guide during my post graduation,
Mhm.
and my third letter of recommendation was from my orthodontics professor during my BDS days.
Okay.
So, letter of recommendation, I would say to get it written from somebody who knows you very well, who
Mhm.
knows what kind of work you have been doing, who kind of knows you inside out. So, post-graduation guides are the best person because
Yeah.
they've seen you during the thick and thins. And the orthodontics professor, I asked to write my letter of recommendation. I requested to ask for my recommendation letter. He knew me from around 11 years now, 11 or 12 years now. So that is something, like the person who's writing your recommendation should actually know you. He should recommend you in a way that he knows you, and he should know why he's recommending you. He should know your positives.
Nice. Did you kind of remind them of, did you have a conversation with them about it, or did you just tell them, I want it done, and they came back to you with a
No,
draft?
no, 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 no. I did have a quite a long conversation with them, and there were certain, incidences that were put into recommendation letters that kind of needed refreshing. So,
Awesome. Yeah. I asked this because several student candidates, they hesitate to approach the recommenders and have a conversation around what they want highlighted.
okay. So,
So
no, that is really necessary because I believe that if the recommender is putting in some personal incidences, some personal uh, episodes with you, that really makes a good impact.
mhm, absolutely, and you have the chance to go back and tell them that certain things, not
Exactly, and
can
it gives a
change.
good point to chat about with.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Great. This is a lot of insight on the letter recommendation. In terms of the personal statement, you again said it's like a front door to assessing who you are as a person. And it's the
exactly.
only door that differentiates you from every other candidate who's applying because GPA and things are common across the board.
Exactly.
So what were your steps in writing your personal statement?
So, when I initially searched about how to write my SOP, there's a lot of things like write your own story and, kind of relatable. Uh, so I would say that, yeah, both of these things are right, and you have to write your statement in kind of an episodic way. The person can connect the last paragraph to the next one.
Mhm,
It has to have a flow in it,
mhm,
and it also has to be an interesting SOP because I believe, I don't know exactly, but I believe that a lot of applicants apply around 1200, 1500 per school.
yeah.
So the person who's reading it should gather some kind of interest into your SOP. So flowability and interest, and these are the two important things that SOP should have. And absolutely, it should be kind of a story because it's your own life you're putting into words.
Mhm. Great. Very valuable. A lot of people will probably listen to this on replay.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, I'm gonna pause the video. Hey, Dr. Parag, welcome
Hey.
back. All right. Now that we've spoken about the process of application and getting an interview invite, Would you like to share which schools invited you for interviews?
So I got invited at three schools: Pittsburgh, UCSF, and USC.
Wonderful. All top favorites. USC likes people with master's programs, so that's a great choice. UCSF
Yeah.
is literally an odd one out because not everybody who gets into UCSF has a lot of experience.
Okay.
So you definitely would have been very different when they saw your story and very fresh for them to consider you. Pittsburgh is one of the most competitive schools to apply to
Exactly.
because its program is extremely cheap
Yeah.
compared to other schools. So glad that you got invited, 3 invites. It's a great number to have.
Yeah. So I was waitlisted at all the three schools, and somehow UCSF cleared me.
Okay. Yeah. So walk us through your interview process at the 3 schools.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do Pittsburgh first and then the Californian schools.
Okay. So, I mean, this year it was due to COVID, it was all online, and uh, it was kind of an intimidating thing, having three interviews. Because, once you are visiting the school, you kind of get an idea about it. You get to talk with the seniors and all of that. But while doing an online interview, you have some idea because you will be doing your own back research, but that touch is somewhat missing. Once you go to the school and then you are giving an interview, and once you are giving it online sitting in India, and also the timings, like you're giving I remember my UCSF interview started on a certain day and ended in the next day because of the time difference. So it was starting at 12:30, 11:30 in the night, and it went on till 12:30. So the time difference again makes a some kind of difference, because you'll be drained throughout the day, and then you're giving an interview. So that was something. And yeah, uh, the next thing would be, I think interviewers look for genuinity in you, like how exactly you're presenting yourself. If you are what you showcase them, that really shows. I mean, they're able to gauge that. So they're basically looking for that.
Got it. Great. Did you see any differences in the interview styles between the 3 schools?
Yeah, I mean, UCSF and Pittsburgh, UCSF was focused mainly on clinical experience and ethical questions, more of ethical questions and clinical oriented questions. USC has a different kind of an interview. So in that, it's kind of a group discussion actually. So that's a different thing. And Pittsburgh again focuses more on what kind of clinical experiences that you have had, and what kind of research that you have done, if you have done any. So
Okay. Did they ask any generic questions which are behavioral in nature, like how do you deal with failure? How do you work with a team, leadership?
yeah, yeah, I would say, tell me your three greatest failures. Tell me your three moments where you really think that you could have done something else to improve your career or improve your skill. So that was this question I had both for Pittsburgh and UCSF.
Okay.
And another question which I had in both these schools was what kind of practice you are doing, and is it only an urban kind of a practice, or you are practicing in rural areas too? So,
Great. Do you recall any other questions, Parag? Because this will be super valuable for people who are watching.
yeah. So UCSF was what kind of differences that you have seen in the practice, because you are practicing dentist in India, and what kind of practice is being practiced in United States. So what is the difference between these two kind of practices, and how is it going to improve your career? Like, you are an established dentist here, you are an endodontist here, you're moving back to general dentistry. So how is it? How do you think that you're moving up in your career ladder? So that is something that was asked to me in UCSF, and yeah, UCSF one was more of ethical based questions. So if somebody is applying to UCSF, I would say to give the Casper test too, because that is kind of essential, I feel, for UCSF. I'm sure that Indiana too has a Casper test involved in it, but I think both these schools look into ethical questions deeply. So
Did you have
also UCSF had this survey which asked us to describe two of our prosthodontics related cases, two of our endodontics related cases, and
yeah, they have it this year as well, and we've been helping a few people with that.
Yeah, I think, but this year it is before their interview they're asking. It is kind of in the supplemental questionnaire, right? Previous year it was after they call you for interview, they asked you
Okay.
to submit this survey.
Okay. Did you have any Kira interviews where you had to speak to a recorded computer and record your answers?
Yeah, it was in USC. Kira
Okay.
was in
What kind of
USC.
questions did they ask you in the Kira interview?
Kira interview. I think it was mostly focusing on like they give you a set of situation and then they ask you the question related to that.
Okay.
So I'm not able to remember the exact situation that was given to me, but it's more of situation-based question that was asked in Kira.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people struggle with Kira interviews. Did you face any struggle because it was not a human being and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I was more worried about any technical glitches that might cause me to disrupt my interview.
Okay, all right, makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great, Parag. Okay, so now waitlisted, UCSF called you. I'm sure you're excited about getting into UCSF. What do you like about the school? Are you looking forward to something? How was the process after you got the admit?
Okay, so after getting that admit, initial days were like initial days went in disbelief. So later on, once you digest that thing, this realization comes that like, yeah, now you have to leave your practice, now you have to move to a different country, you have to that comes later on. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I've heard that the kind of restorative dentistry that UCSF is teaching is excellent, and I think it's currently rated as the 5th best dental school in the world. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it now.
Fantastic. All right. And at UCSF, we have a couple of other alumni from Caapid Simplified itself.
Oh, that's
So
great. That's great.
you could meet a larger network over there. Look forward to it. One question I had was, since you managed to do most of the process sitting in India versus dentists who come to the US, work as dental assistants or shadow and all of that, how was the process different for you? And you can talk about the aspect of collecting US experience. You can talk about the aspect of managing finances, like how did you do financial planning, or did you have like a co-signer and stuff like that? And yeah, I think largely these two things. And any question about that people would have asked, like, compare US versus Indian dentistry and where you see your growth. Just can you comment on these three topics?
Yeah, so if you're applying from India, I had this really great benefit that I did not need to come to the United States for the interview. That really saved me a lot of money. And when you're earning in rupees and spending in dollars, so that is something that really puts you off.
Yes.
Yeah, it really makes you think twice about everything. Each school you're applying will cost you a fortune in Indian rupees.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to plan accordingly through that, and you have to pre-plan everything. How many schools you're going to apply, and what kind of supplemental fees they're having, how you're going to travel there, how you're going to stay there. Yeah, so this is one of the most important things when you're applying from India. I mean, definitely it makes sense if you're in the US and then you are applying. It it kind of makes it less expensive. But yeah, that was the first thing that really should be planned and cleared about. Secondly, I would say, I'm sorry, so what was the second question?
Second question was, you do not have any shadowing experience in the US, correct?
No, I did have a shadowing experience for 2 months.
Okay.
So when I gave my NBD part 1 in 2019, September 2019, and I gave my part 2 in November 2019. So between those 2 months, I was shadowing, and yeah, so I had an experience of shadowing for 2 months. Uh, it was an Indian dentist who was practicing there. So I shadowed him, and that also really helped me. However, I did not get a letter from him, but yeah, that really helped me.
Awesome. Okay. And how did you get in touch with this person?
He was actually he was a senior from my graduation college, from a BDS college. So I got in touch with him through another of my senior. So that is how.
Fantastic. Okay. Let's just spend maybe 1 more minute on the topic you previously talked about, which is I earn in rupees and I spend in dollars, and that hurts. For
Yeah.
people doing that, which is a large number of people, what would be some advice you can give from your own experience?
See, pre-planning is the key. Pre-planning the number of colleges you are applying, having a targeted approach. These are the colleges that you really stand a chance. Like some of the colleges, like I told you, I did apply at UPenn because that was kind of a dream college to me. However, I knew that it requires a year's US experience. They have clearly mentioned in their website that they do require a year's experience. However, I did apply at that college, which I think was wrong on my part, because I could have saved some money.
Mm.
So yeah, pre-planning is the key to all of that. Having a targeted approach, reading about what the requirements are exactly, where all you can apply, where all you are eligible to apply. That really solves a lot of questions about all this. Where you need to actually invest your money into. Yeah, so I would say pre-planning is the key for that. Having a good info on what the school is asking is best.
And in terms of like pre-planning and for the budgeting, did you mentioned a few mentors, your seniors, friend, and Dr. Satyajit, were their inputs coming in as useful?
Dr. Satpreet,
Satpreet.
so he also guided me quite a lot into it, and he guided me. Like at one point, I asked him. I was going to apply at University of Nevada, so but later on I realized that it's only for green card holders. So that is something that you'll get to know from somebody who has passed through that process, who has done that process. So yeah, I would say talking to seniors really help, and not just during the procedure, like after getting an invite, after getting into the school, that time also, what kind of property you're going to stay in, how you're getting your loan passed, and what kind of loan you are going to apply. So that is something that you'll get to know from seniors only. So,
Great. Okay. All right. Maybe one question about UCSF. We've heard, and also from own experience, when Nourah was applying, UCSF's staff weren't very responsive. This was back in 2019, and it's kind of difficult establishing a relationship with that admin who manages all the emails. Did you face such situations? Did things change thereafter?
no, I mean, for my case, they've been quite responsive, and they've been quite helpful. Like, I'll tell you an instance. My passport was going to expire in April. So when I was needing my background check, I needed to put in a new passport number. However, my passport delivery got delayed here in India, and the due date passed when I had to complete my background check. So I mailed them, and they were quite nice about it. They extended my deadline and everything. They were quite responsive. So I would say, I mean, that is something That has changed, I would say.
If you were to repeat this whole process all over again, what
Yeah.
is one thing you would do differently?
I would say that probably I would like a little bit more of shadowing experience.
Hmm.
Because in India we are not used to working on patient management softwares and the kind of softwares that is being used in US for treatment planning, patient management, and everything. So that is something, obviously I know now I would be learning that in school, but getting to know a little bit more about them beforehand really helps,
Hmm.
because
Okay.
that is the basic know-how. That is what the interviewer expects, that you should know about it beforehand.
Yeah, great. This is just, I'm going to ask some advice for Caapid Simplified. We are trying to develop into a company that is going to help dentists in their career. And we believe that admissions is just a small part of your career. We actually want to help foreign trained dentists establish a practice here. And that's where we're investing our money. Do you think it's useful to give training in like an axiom like patient management software before students even apply? Do you think people will value that?
See, not a very in detail, in depth training, but I would say that having a little bit know about how things are working there, how the is being scheduled, how the treatment is being planned, because there's a lot of difference between how it is being done in India or other countries and how it is being done in United States. So that is something, just a little bit brief about that would really help. I would say that would really help.
Fantastic. Okay. This is a great tidbit. Thanks. Now back to our candidates, and we can probably close the call with this last question.
Yeah.
Is if you were to just pause and think about three things that you would want to pass on as advice from your journey to other applicants who are applying in this cycle and future cycles, what would those three things be?
See, the first thing would be to having a clear view about what it is that you want to do. And that would not just be for your academics, but what kind of life you would want to have. That would really help you make the decisions relatively with ease. What kind of life you aim to have. For somebody, it might be having, totally into academics. For somebody, it might be totally into clinics. For somebody, it might just be, chilling out most of the time or spending more time with his family. That's perfectly okay. So having that clarity in mind, what kind of life you want, that really helps you make decisions. Secondly, I would say to have a clear view of finance. How is it you're going to finance your education? How is it you're going to finance your applications? So that is something that is very important, especially like we are dentists here. We are already dentists here. I mean, for certain age group, it might be they can take certain amount of risks, but after a certain kind of age, the amount of risk that you can take is really reduces. So you need to have the finance thing planned. And the third thing would be having a really good SOP, having really good LORs, and having a good CV. I mean, CV is more or less kind of generalized, because see, both parts would be cleared, TOEFL would be cleared, and some papers everybody will have. So GPA is again, everybody would have more than 3.5. So I would say having a good SOP and having good LORs would really set you apart.
Fantastic, Dr. Parag. So how
So
about
again,
your
I would
vision?
like to say, I would again like to say, there's this really good book, Purple Cow.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yes.
So you have to be purple cow amongst everybody. That is how the people are going to notice you.
I'm actually going to share the Purple Cow book review, which I wrote for Goodreads.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yes, great
Okay.
book, great recommendation.
Yeah, exactly. I love that book.
Awesome, that's great. Uh, okay, I should know. I should stop right now, but I just want to ask you, what other books do you find really interesting, which have helped you in this journey in some way? Just any story or something.
To be very frank, I read Bhagavad Gita a lot and really helps me to calm down. Helps me to put my thought together.
Nice.
And I was reading it during my exam time. And then during my application time, I was reading Purple Cow. So yeah, I mean, these two books were going on that time.
Great.
And again, it was time of COVID. So yeah, I mean, it was more of, hobby stuff that was going on.
Nice.
Again, yeah, I mean, see, another thing I would like to add is, people can always put into this, their applications and their SOPs, how COVID has changed their life, how COVID has put them at an advantage or at a disadvantage. Right. I mean, there are a lot of people who did not get invited because of COVID this year. There are a lot of people who weren't called for interviews or were waitlisted, like me. So, I mean, that is something that they can probably pen it down in their SOPs, how COVID is affecting them, how it has affected that.
In this year's application cycle, a new question has been added, like a supplemental itself, about COVID. So they'll have two opportunities to talk about COVID. Yeah, it's naturally the topic on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
All right, Parag. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank your family for giving you time at this hour too.
Thank you so much, Karthik, and it was really nice talking to you again.
Pleasure.
Yeah.